Good afternoon, Bitapi ma'am.
Good afternoon.
स्वागत है मैम आपका साइंस सिटी के।
धन्यवाद धन्यवाद।
और आए हुए बाकी भी सभी बच्चे और टीचर्स और अलग अलग स्कूल से जिन्होंने ज्वाइन किया, हमें आज उनका भी स्वागत है
जी।
और मैं आपका तहे दिल से शुक्रिया अदा करता हूँ कि आपने हमारा जो ये इन्विटेशन है आपने एक्सेप्ट किया और इतना आप टाइम स्पेयर किया अपने बच्चों के लिए और हमारे लिए। और आई होप कि बच्चे भी आज आपके एक्सपीरियंस से बहुत कुछ सीख के जाएंगे। सो बच्चों, मैं जैसे कि आप सभी जानते हो, आज हम वी आर ऑर्गेनाइजिंग एंड सेलिब्रेटिंग वर्ल्ड माइग्रेटरी बर्ड डे टुडे, राइट? And this day usually is celebrated on the second Saturday of May month every year. Okay, date is not fixed, but day second Saturday is fixed, right? So birds, since beginning they are the source of inspiration for mankind. क्योंकि अगर मैं सोचता हूँ कि बर्ड्स ना होते तो हम लोग भी उड़ने का कभी ख्याल ना ले पाते। तो बिकॉज ऑफ बर्ड्स ही हम लोग उड़ पाए हैं, उनको उनसे सीख के। और आज ये जो दिन यूएनओ ने जो सजेस्ट किया है, वर्ल्ड माइग्रेटरी बर्ड डे, जो हम यहाँ पे आज मना रहे हैं, तो इसका कोई मायने है। तो उसके लिए हमारे पास आज के जो हमारे गेस्ट स्पीकर हैं डॉक्टर बितापी हमारे साथ जुड़े हुए हैं, तो वो बहुत सारी अच्छी बातें अपने एक्सपीरियंस से हमें सिखाएंगे। उससे पहले कि हम लोग शुरू करें, मैं डॉक्टर बितापी जी के बारे में आप सभी को थोड़ा सा तारुफ करवा दूं। डॉक्टर बितापी सिन्हा जी साइंटिस्ट जी हैं और शी इज प्रोफेसर एट वाइल्ड लाइफ इंस्टीट्यूशन ऑफ इंडिया, देहरादून। So she has been involved in nature interpretation, conservation, education, and wildlife tourism since 1993. Her interests include low-cost planning and development of interpretive facilities, understanding the attitudes and benefits of wildlife tourism to the community living around the protected areas, and preparing curriculum-based conservation education programs. She has been involved in planning and developing nature interpretive facilities in India and Bangladesh. So इसके साथ ही मैम ने बहुत सारी बुक्स भी हैं वो जो कम्युनिटी को जो हमें दी हैं, बहुत ही बढ़िया बुक्स हैं वो। आपने टाइगर्स के ऊपर और राइनोज के ऊपर भी बुक्स लिखी हुई हैं। सो मैं ज़्यादा समय ना लेता हुआ डॉक्टर बितापी जी से रिक्वेस्ट करूंगा कि वो अभी आप आज की अपनी टॉक स्टार्ट करें। डॉक्टर बितापी जी प्लीज।
थैंक यू सो मच फॉर द इंट्रोडक्शन। मैं भी अपने साथी लोगों को भी इंट्रोड्यूस करना चाहती हूँ। मेरे साथ ये बच्चा है मोहित, कैन यू कम दिस साइड एंड शो योर फेस। ये मोहित कश्यप है जो हमारे साथ गंगा जो प्रोजेक्ट है, एक मल्टी डिसिप्लिनरी प्रोजेक्ट है, उसमें प्रोजेक्ट बायोलॉजिस्ट है। और मेरे साथ एक बच्ची है सोनू पवार जो हमारे साथ इंटर्नशिप कर रही है पिछले 6 महीनों से। और thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to talk to you all. मैं पुष्पा साइंस सिटी के लिए, पुष्पा गुजराल साइंस सिटी के लिए हमेशा मेरे मन में एक बहुत अच्छा वो है। डॉक्टर नीलिमा मेरी बहुत क्लोज फ्रेंड है और मुझे अच्छा लगता है बच्चों के साथ काम करना, और हम लोग सब बच्चों के साथ ही ज्यादा काम करते हैं। मैं जो प्रेजेंटेशन आज आपको दिखाने वाली हूँ वो आज माइग्रेटरी डे के ऊपर बर्ड्स कैसे उड़ती हैं, what are birds, how do they fly, what is migration, which birds migrate, and you as a citizen, how you can help the birds, so how you can play a role in the conservation of birds. So I will go to the slideshow first. Slideshow. Is it visible?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So once again, welcome to the World Migratory Day. As you all know, birds connect our world. the reason that birds connect our world is they fly from one continent to another continent, and that is how they connect the world. And birds have been the inspiration for the modern day aircrafts, which take us from one continent to another, one place to another. एक जगह से हमें दूसरे जगह ले जाती है, जो हमें ट्रांसपोर्ट करती है. उसका जो आज जो मॉडर्न डे एयरप्लेन है, उसका जो इंस्पिरेशन है वो भी बर्ड्स की फ्लाइट्स है. तो बर्ड्स दुनिया को जोड़ती है, बर्ड्स कॉन्टिनेंट्स को जोड़ती है, बर्ड्स लोगों को भी जोड़ती है. जो एक जगह रिसर्च करते हैं चिड़ियाओं पे, उनकी चिड़ियाएं उड़ के दूसरे कॉन्टिनेंट में आ जाती है, तो वहां के साइंटिस्ट उन चिड़ियाओं को देखती है, तो वो रिसर्चर्स को भी जोड़ती है. और एंड also the children, it also connects the children, because children love to see flying birds, children love to see flying objects, and when they see these flying objects, some of them which come from different continents to our continent, to our country, children also love to see it. So it connects the world. The birds basically connect the world. Birds are vertebrates. They have feathers, they have wings, and they have beaks. And they have a bony skeleton, so they are called vertebrates. But every bird does not fly. There are some birds which have wings, but they do not fly. There is a picture which is there. This is a picture of the penguin, the emperor penguin. The emperor penguin has wings, but it does not fly. There are 18 species of penguins in Antarctica, in the snowy areas, but none of them fly. None of the 18 species fly. So they are birds, but they don't fly. Similarly, there are ostriches. Both the things, the ostriches and the penguins, are not found in India. So flightless birds are not found in India, but in the world, there are birds that do not fly. Now, how do birds fly? What helps them to fly? वो कैसे अपना दिशा ढूंढते हैं, कैसे उड़ते हैं, उसके बारे में थोड़ा समय बताना चाहूंगी. बर्ड्स अपने आप को एयर में पुश करता है, अपने आप को लिफ्ट करता है, और लिफ्ट करने से जब वो पुश होता है, एयर से पुश होता है, तो उसकी फ्लाइट, उसके जो विंग्स है उसमें एक सेंसेशन होती है, और जिससे वो उड़ता है. तो आप अगर आपने कभी हवा में उड़ते हुए कोई बीज देखा हो, कोई पेड़ का कोई सीड देखा हो, which actually flies from one place to another, that is exactly how birds fly. So the birds lift themselves up, and the air pushes them, and then their wings take the flight. So that is how the birds fly. They have lungs which are very good for oxygen, and they are very efficient lungs, because when you are flying, you need oxygen so that you can fly a very long distance without getting tired. So if you are a swimmer, if you are underwater, also then you need to have a very strong lung. अगर आपका लंग्स बहुत स्ट्रांग है तो आप स्विम भी कर सकते हैं, आप उड़ भी सकते हैं. और अगर आपके लंग्स बहुत वीक हैं तो आप ना उड़ सकेंगे ना स्विम कर सकेंगे. उसका कारण है कि आप ऑक्सीजन अपने अंदर नहीं रिटेन कर पाएंगे. तो जो बर्ड्स है, बर्ड्स का जो लंग्स है वो बहुत स्ट्रांग होता है, और वो उनको मदद करती है उड़ने में, और जिससे वो टायर्ड नहीं होते हैं. और देयर इज अनदर थिंग, द बर्ड्स हैव हॉलो बोन्स. उनके बोन्स हॉलो होते हैं, जिसकी वजह से वो बहुत हल्के होते हैं. एंड एनी लाइट थिंग विल एक्चुअली लिफ्ट अप एंड फ्लाई. सो birds also have hollow bones, and their wings are in such a shape that they are perfect for catching the air. When you flip the wings are in such a shape that they actually catch the air, and that helps them to fly. So there are three things that help the birds to fly. One is a very strong lungs, the other is the hollow bones, and third is the shape of the wings. So these are the three things that helps the birds to fly. Now, there are different types of birds which are available. I will be speaking mostly on Indian context. I will be speaking mostly on birds of India. So there are some birds which are waders. Waders are those birds which actually wade on water. पानी में वो चलते हैं. These wading birds have long legs, they have long beaks also, and they have long legs. The reason that they have long legs is if you see the gray heron picture, you can see the length of the legs. उनके टांगे लंबी होती है wading birds की, और उनके bills बड़े होते हैं. वो इसलिए होता है जिससे वो पानी की सतह पर ऊपर जो भी चीज तैरती है, algae हो या इंसेक्ट्स हो, उनको इजीली खा सके, और इसलिए लंबे टांगों की जरूरत होती है जिससे वो अपने आप को पानी में बैलेंस कर सके. तो ऐसी जो बर्ड्स जिनकी लंबी टांगे होती है, लंबी चोंच होती है, और जिनकी गर्दन थोड़ी लंबी होती है, उनको wading birds बोलते हैं. They are known as waders, and the example of waders are grey heron, night heron, great egret. All these are examples of wading birds. So wading means पानी में चलना. So पानी में जो चलता है उसको wading birds बोलते हैं. दूसरी जो कैटेगरी birds की है वो है song birds. Song birds are those birds that sing. चिड़िया क्यों गाना गाती है, चिड़िया क्यों म्यूजिक देती है, उसके कई कारण हैं. One reason is they actually mark their territory. वो अपने घर को बचा के रखना चाहती है, वो अपने घर के चारों तरफ दीवार बनाना चाहती है. So they mark their territory. Second is they want to attract males. When the females are singing, they want to attract males. And the third is passage of time. आपको भोर में birds की आवाज सुनाई पड़ेगी जब रात जा रही होती है और सुबह आ रहा होता है, तो आपको बर्ड्स की आवाज सुनाई पड़ती है. सो वो डे और नाइट को मार्क करता है. और चौथा है वो फन के लिए, मजे के लिए भी गाना गाती हैं. सो द सॉन्ग बर्ड्स बेसिकली फॉर 4 reasons they sing. One is to mark the territory, one is to attract the males, one is to mark the passage of time, and one is for fun. So these birds are like the red-rumped swallow, the leaf wobbler, the house sparrow, the cuckoo. These are all songbirds. So early morning, if you wake up, bhor mein agar aap uthte hain and you wake up, you hear a lot of birds calling, and those are songbirds. Then there are night birds. These birds are only seen at night. The owl, the Indian nightjar. If you happen to travel somewhere in the night, all of a sudden from the middle of the road, a bird flies up. Now this bird that flies up is a nightjar. It is known as the Indian nightjar. And they are so well camouflaged. In this picture, you can't see the bird. If you carefully see, you will find the bird. They are so well camouflaged. So, so we have the these are called the night birds. They fly in night. Then there are water birds. जो चिड़ियाएं पानी में मिलती हैं. कई चिड़ियाएं ऐसी हैं आपके घर के आसपास, आपके स्कूल के आसपास या आपके शहर में. If you have a wetland, जो पानी का तालाब है या wetland है, if you find a wetland, you will see a lot of birds. And some of these birds come specially during winters. They come here during winters and they rest in these water. And these are known as water birds. And some of the water birds, like the spot-billed duck, it is known as the spot-billed duck because if you see the bill, you will find a spot on it. And that is why it is called a spot-billed duck. Then you have the bar-headed geese. The bar-headed geese has bars on its head and they are also water birds. And you can also see the common coot. The common coot has a pin tail and a whitish beak. So you can see the common coot. Some are resident, some are migratory, but they live in water. Then we have the bird of prey. This, most of you must have seen the bird of prey, the falcons, the Egyptian vultures, the changeable hawk eagle, ईगल जिसको बोलते हैं, वल्चर जिसको बोलते हैं, फैल्कन जिसको बोलते हैं, these are birds of prey. Birds of prey वो होते हैं जो दूसरी चिड़ियाओं को या छोटे जानवरों को खाती है, वो प्रे करती है उन छोटे जानवरों पे या छोटी चिड़ियाओं पे, इसलिए उनको बर्ड्स ऑफ प्रे बोलते हैं। और बर्ड्स ऑफ प्रे भी बहुत इम्पोर्टेंट है हमारे इकोसिस्टम के लिए, क्योंकि ये मैनेज करती है जो रोडेंट पॉपुलेशन है, जो रैट की पॉपुलेशन है, उनको मैनेज करती है, जो अनवांटेड इंसेक्ट्स है या अनवांटेड स्मॉल क्रीचर्स है उनको मैनेज करती है। सो इट इज वेरी वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट टू हैव बर्ड ऑफ प्रे आल्सो अराउंड अस। सो दीज आर द डिफरेंट टाइप्स ऑफ birds that are available. We have waders, we have songbirds, we have bird of prey, and we have water birds. There are other birds also, but those birds are not seen in India, so we don't talk about those much. Then we have some freshwater birds. Freshwater birds are those जो साफ पानी में रहते हैं, ताजे पानी में रहते हैं, जैसे डक्स है, जो डक्स है वो ताजे पानी में रहते हैं, और वो कई दफा आपको कहीं पे भी वेटलैंड है या पानी का स्रोत है और there is a source of water, you will find these ducks. Some of the ducks are migratory and some of the ducks are local. They are found in anywhere. So these are some of the freshwater birds. There are birds which are, I told you about the wading birds, but there are also the diving birds. Some birds dive in water to catch the prey and eat it. These birds are known as diving birds. And one of the example of diving birds is the kingfisher, which dives into the water to catch a small fish and take it. So you can see diving birds also. Wading birds, those walk, and diving birds, those who dive. So you can see a kingfisher, you can see a cormorant, those are diving birds. They dive from a height into the water and catch their fish. What is migration? Migration is basically means traveling from one place to another. It can be one-way migration, it can be two-way migration. That means they come to a particular place and then they return back. So this is what is called a migration, and migration takes place during a certain period of the year and they take certain routes. So that is what migration means. एक जगह से दूसरी जगह जाना, उस जगह से वापस आना, या फिर उस जगह पे रह जाना, या फिर एक रूट को पकड़ के तय करके उड़ना, उसको माइग्रेशन बोलते हैं। माइग्रेशन क्यों होता है? माइग्रेशन होता है, बर्ड्स माइग्रेट क्यों करती है? व्हाई डू बर्ड्स माइग्रेट? बर्ड्स माइग्रेट बिकॉज ऑफ नेस्टिंग एंड ब्रीडिंग। वो अपना घोंसला बनाने के लिए और अपने अंडा देने के लिए या बच्चों के लिए वो माइग्रेट करती है फ्रॉम वन प्लेस टू अनदर। They also migrate for food. कई दफा where they are, वहाँ पे food scarcity हो जाती है, बर्फ पड़ जाता है, खाना नहीं होता है, so they migrate to the lower altitude. And sometimes they also migrate because of to escape from weather, very hot regions, from hot regions to cold region, and from cold regions to hot region. So from the Himalayas down to the plains, and from the plains, from the desert to the plains to the Himalayas. So they migrate from warmer region to colder region, and colder region to warmer region, looking for food and looking for nesting and breeding sites. Now, how do birds know their direction? How do they fly such long distances and know their direction? One of it is through the patterns of the star. In geography, you all must have read the stars have a pattern, and there is the solar system which has a pattern, and the night sky has a pattern. If you are a stargazer, you will actually see that there are different kinds of patterns in the stars, and that is what helps the birds to fly from one place to another. The other is the Earth's magnetic field. Magnetic field is also known as the geomagnetic field. You must have all studied in geography and physics. if the magnetic field points to the north. So if you have a compass, the compass always points to the north. So that is a magnetic field. So the birds have a sense of the magnetic field. They have both a visual sense as well as a sensory sense, because of which they know the magnetic field and they follow the direction from north to south and south to north. So that is what is called a magnetic field. Then also the location of the setting sun, when the sun sets, how the sun sets, that also gives them a idea of the direction that they have to fly. Apart from that, उनको topographic features, नदी, पहाड़, जो कोस्ट लाइन होती है समुद्र के किनारे, वो भी उनको बताती है कि इस रास्ते से हमें जाना है, इन पहाड़ों के बीच से हमें निकलना है, इस नदी को हमको फॉलो करना है. जैसे when we travel on the road, what do we use? We use a Google map. The Google map is also gives us all the features. So similarly, for the birds to fly, the birds also use the Google map. They have for them the Google map is the rivers, the mountains, the coastlines. All those are Google maps. And similarly, the wind patterns also assist them to fly. As I mentioned, if because of their wings, they are able to fly. So when there is wind which is conducive for them to fly, and flying from north to south, then they take that route. So there are different ways in which the birds migrate. They are assisted by different ways. Then what are the different types of migration? There is a latitudinal migration. As I mentioned, they move towards the south during winters. They come from the north and move towards the south during winters. Cuckoo, which is also known as the Indian cuckoo or the quail. The quail also is a latitudinal migrant. It migrates from Southeast Africa and covers a distance of almost 7,000 kilometers to come and spend the breeding time in India. So this is called a latitudinal migration. Then there is an altitudinal migration. Altitudinal migration is when they migrate from higher altitude to the lower altitude, from the mountains to the regions below, from higher areas during winter to lower areas where the winter is less. So this is called altitudinal migration. जब वो ठंडी जगह से गर्म जगह की तरफ आते हैं और ऊंचे पहाड़ी इलाकों से नीचे आते हैं, उसको altitudinal migration कहते हैं. फिर partial migration भी होता है कि वो थोड़े टाइम के लिए जाते हैं और फिर वापस आ जाते हैं, या फिर एक जगह में ही रह जाते हैं. So there are examples of partial migration like the common coot. Even in Punjab, in many of the wetlands, we can see common coots which are partially migrant. So then there is seasonal migration. Seasonal migration is some of them are summer visitors, some of them are winter visitors. The wire-tailed swallow is a summer visitor. It comes during summer to India, whereas the ruddy-shelled duck is a winter visitor. It comes in winters to India. So there is also seasonal migration. There is longitudinal migration. There is which travels from north to south. There is altitudinal migration. From mountains to plains, there is seasonal migration, which is during winter and summer. There is partial migration. That means they spend part of their time in some destination. And similarly, there are species which have irregular or once in a time they travel. So these are for food, for safety. These are irregular migrants, and they can be the eagles, they can be the blackstock, they can be the bee-eaters. You will see bee-eaters on the wires. बिजली के तार पे आप छोटी-छोटी हरे रंग की चिड़िया देखोगे जिसकी पूंछ लंबी सी निकली होती है, वो bee-eater है. तो आपको bee-eater भी irregular migrant है, वो कभी आपको दिखता है, कभी आपको नहीं दिखता है. So these are vagrant or irregular migrants. Then there are daily migration. जैसे आप लोग करते हैं, बच्चे लोग रोज स्कूल जाते हैं, स्कूल से रोज वापस घर आते हैं, ऐसे ही डेली माइग्रेशन बर्ड्स में भी होता है. बर्ड्स एक जगह से दूसरी जगह रोज जाती है और वापस आती है. It can be for food, it can be for temperature control, or it can be for nesting. They go from one place to another. So some of these examples are the common miners and the pond herons, जो आपको बहुत easily दिख जाता है, या फिर starlings. So you have daily migration also in the birds. And then you have the diurnal migration and the nocturnal birds. The diurnal migration is during daytime for food. They go from one place, migrate for food from one place to another. And nocturnal birds, they migrate from one place to another in darkness. वो एक जगह से दूसरी जगह जाते हैं. These are small birds. The reason that they migrate during night time is so that they do not get attacked by the birds of prey, so that the birds of prey do not attack them, like the falcon and other birds. They do not attack them. So these are small birds. Nocturnal birds are small birds, and diurnal migration is when they migrate during daytime for food. So they go from one place to another for food. So that is called a diurnal migration. हम भी जैसे खाने के लिए जाते हैं दिन में, कहीं छुट्टी के दिन कहीं हम लंच बाहर करने जाते हैं, तो that is a diurnal migration. और रात को अगर हम कहीं घूमने निकलते हैं तो that is a nocturnal migration. मैं आपको एक छोटी सी चिड़िया के बारे में बताना चाहती हूँ. इसका नाम है अमूर फाल्कन, और ये एक बर्ड ऑफ प्रे है. ये एक फाल्कन की स्पीशीज है जो इंडिया के नॉर्थ ईस्ट में, which is found in the northeast of India in the state of Nagaland and Mizoram. वहाँ पे ये birds मिलती हैं, और ये बहुत मात्रा में अमूर falcon इंडिया में आती थी. But the local people were actually killing the amur falcon, and their population was dwindling. Government of India then started initiative of amur falcon conservation, and under this initiative, amur falcons were tagged. They were given satellite radio collars, and because of the satellite radio collars, we could track where the amur falcons came from and where did they go. So we found out that the amur falcons to Nagaland and Mizoram came from South Africa, from Gaborone, a place called Gaborone. They followed the Gaborone route and the coast of South Africa, and from Mogadishu they came to Somalia, and from Somalia they flew into India and ahead into Beijing. Ahead of Beijing, they went into China. So they fly thousands and thousands of kilometers during migration. And this is a very small bird. And because of the satellite track that was radio collar that was placed on these birds, we came to know how they migrated from one place to another. Where did they come to India from? How much time did to migrate. So all these details were found out about bird migration. Similarly, if you've seen these black pigs, कहीं भी आपको garbage का dump दिखता है जो दिल्ली में, if you are familiar with Delhi, then the Ghazipur Mandi, as you enter Delhi, the Ghazipur Mandi has a dump yard, has the biggest dump yard in Delhi, and there are birds flying all over the Ghazipur dump yard, and these are the black kites, and the black kites were also radio tagged, and it was found that before the pre-breeding breeding migration, before they came for breeding to India, they traveled between February to April to India, and they traveled about 4,500 kilometers to come to India from close to Mongolia and Russia. And they came into India from Mongolia and Russia, and they again returned back the same route. They returned back in August and October after the chicks are born. So they fly a very long distance, about 4,500 kilometers, and they take 2 to 3 weeks to reach from one destination to another. So this is what gave us information about how birds fly, how the raptors fly from one place to another. These were all radio tagged, and from this we came to know that the black kites flew from India, from the Gazipur dump yard in Delhi. They flew into Mongolia and Russia. And the Amur falcon from Mizoram and Nagaland. They came from China, they stopped over at Mizoram and Nagaland, and they flew down to South Africa. So this is the journey of migration of birds. Now, there is a word called flyway. Every flight has a path. हर फ्लाइट का एक पाथ होता है, एक रास्ता होता है. जैसे हमारे लिए रास्ते बने हुए हैं कि आप लेफ्ट से जाएंगे और राइट से आएंगे, सिमिलरली बर्ड्स के लिए भी flyway बने हुए हैं. And they use these flyways which actually are spanned over continents. So there are 8 flyways in the world. 8 flyways है. इंडिया में जो फ्लाईवे पास करता है उसको कहते हैं सेंट्रल एशियन फ्लाईवे. इस मैप में आप जो येलो लाइन देख रहे हैं वो सेंट्रल एशियन फ्लाईवे है, और जो आप लाइंस देख रहे हैं वो अलग अलग फ्लाईवेज है. यहाँ पे 8 डिफरेंट फ्लाईवेज है. ईस्ट एशिया ऑस्ट्रेलेशिया फ्लाईवे, सेंट्रल एशिया फ्लाईवे, ईस्ट एशिया ईस्ट अफ्रीका फ्लाईवे, ब्लैक सी मेडिटेरेनियन फ्लाईवे, ईस्ट अटलांटिक flyway, Atlantic American flyway, Central America's flyway, as well as the Pacific American flyway. So there are 8 flyways which the birds use to fly in. If you have traveled by flight, if you have traveled by aeroplane anywhere, you will see that the plane also takes a particular route, and that is called a flyway. And the birds also take flyways. हमारे कंट्री में, इंडिया में सेंट्रल एशियन फ्लाईवे यूज होता है. सो all the migratory birds that come to India, they use the Central Asian flyway. They actually come from different parts of the world, but they use the Central Asian flyway. Now, the theme for this year's World Migratory Day is to dim the lights for birds at night. It is very, very important that the birds, because some birds are nocturnal, they use the night sky to fly. They use the night to fly from one place to another, from one continent to another. So the lights that we have, the lights that we switch on at night, so these lights actually do not help the birds to migrate. I don't know if you have heard of the place called Jatinga. A place in Assam is called Jatinga, and in Jatinga there is a phenomena where the birds get killed in large numbers. They come and collide with the lights and they die there. So because they get disoriented because of the bright light, they die. So if you get a chance, please read about Jatinga. It's a small village in Assam where large number of birds come and get killed because of the large number of lights, and they get disoriented and they get killed. So this year's World Migratory Day theme is light pollution. This is a picture of the night sky. When the birds are flying, you can see how much light is all over the world. All over the world, there is light, and there is light pollution. When there is artificial light and it brightens the night sky, the birds get disoriented. But their pupils get stranded and they get disoriented. If as sometimes when children play, जब बच्चे खेलते हैं तो टॉर्च एक दूसरे के आंखों में मारते हैं, तब क्या होता है, आंख के सामने अंधेरा छा जाता है. वैसे ही birds को भी होता है, जब वो बहुत ज्यादा लाइट देखते हैं तो वो रात में उनको उनके आंखों के आगे अंधेरा छा जाता है और उसकी वजह से वो किसी चीज से कोलाइड करते हैं और मर जाते हैं, टकराते हैं और मर जाते हैं. So it is very important that light pollution needs to be dimmed, and most of the bird migration is being affected by the night sky, by the night lights. There is large light pollution that is happening world over. Even in our country, there is this light pollution. If you remember, we have a day called the Earth Day, and on the Earth Day, we close our lights for 1 hour at night. Why do we do that? That is also a way to assist the birds to migrate. That is the time when the birds are migrating. So all of us dim our lights or we switch off our lights for 1 hour. That is on the Earth Day. Now there are different components of light pollution. One is when the sky is glowing, when there is lot of light, when there is a lot of light in the sky, that is the sky glow. That also forms a part of light pollution. Sometimes there is a clutter. There is lot of lights. When you go to some city or when you go to somebody's house, you will see lot of lights. All the lights are switched on, and it's like Diwali. It happens like Diwali. All the lights are switched on, and that becomes a bit too confusing for the birds, and that is when they get impacted. Also, there are light which falls on the pathways. It's not needed. When you're traveling, there is a system where you can actually dim your car lights. But what happens is everyone drives in full glare, and the front vehicle, the opposite vehicle, actually gets impacted. The driver gets impacted in his eye. So this is a light called light trespass, and that also happens, and it impacts the bird. And there is too much of glare. Brightness की वजह से visual discomfort होता है. If there is a glass somewhere, or if there is a tin sheet somewhere, or if there is a metal sheet somewhere, the light falls on it and there is a glare, because of which the birds become uncomfortable while traveling from one place to another. So these are the components of light pollution that is very bad for the migratory birds, and it does not help the migratory birds. What is the impact of these light pollution? One is that there is a distortion. They cannot fly at night. If there is light pollution, they lose their path. They collide with the buildings, they collide with trees, they collide with any structure that is there, and they cannot reach their destination. Also, they are unable to take long distance migration because of the glare in their eyes, because of the clutter, because of the disorientation. They cannot take long distances. I just told you they travel somewhere between 7,000 kilometers. They travel some 4,000, 5,000 kilometers. So if there is some impact on the birds, they will not be able to fly. They will either collide or they will lose their direction, and instead of reaching Delhi, they will reach Mumbai. So this is what happens with the birds. So, and also because of this, they become prey to other birds of prey. So the small birds become prey to these larger birds. Now, how you can help solution, in bringing out solution for this problem and help the migratory birds. Use only that much of light. If you are in your study room and if there is no one sitting in the drawing room, then please switch the light off, so that at least the clutter is less. Also, you have there are regulators which actually dim the lights at night. So if you have, for security reasons, you have to have lights, then you can actually dim the lights at night. and that will give you, will assist the birds to fly. And also the color of the lights that you use, try to use colors which have less temperature, try to use colors which are light, and try to use colors that are not harmful for the animal. Some people use bright blue light, some people use bright yellow light, some people use bright green lights. So those are harmful for the birds because they disorient the birds. So try and use lights which are lighter in color and which assist the birds when they are migrating. And turn off the lights when you are not at home. Use CFLs. This is very, very important. You should try and use CFL bulbs at home. घर पे जब आप हो और आप स्टडी रूम में हो तो आप ड्राइंग रूम की लाइट बंद कर दीजिए, अगर आप किचन में हो तो आप बेडरूम की लाइट बंद कर दीजिए, आप CFL का इस्तेमाल करिए, आप लाइट कलर के बल्ब्स का इस्तेमाल करिए, और जब आप कमरों में नहीं हैं तो लाइट बिल्कुल बंद ही रखिए। और उसके साथ आप आपस में भी आप इसके बारे में बात कर सकते हैं। Amongst yourselves you can talk as to how we can help in migration, how we can help the birds by placing water for them, by placing some food for them, by dimming the lights, by studying the migration pattern, talking about it to people, and not harming the birds, not stealing the eggs, not destroying the nests, not throwing stones at the birds. So and also not allowing your dogs or your pets to actually kill the birds. So these days, dog menace is also a big menace. So you should always try and protect the birds as much as you can. And that will be your role as a child, as a citizen of the country, to help in the conservation of birds. So I'm sure that you will all be able to you now know what migration is. You now know which birds migrate, and you also know what is your role as a child, as a citizen, as a student for bird migration. So this is something that I wanted to talk to you all about, and I'm now open to questions if there are any questions.
Thank you, ma'am. Thanks a lot. Thank you very much. बहुत ही बढ़िया आपने हमारे बच्चों के साथ, जो हमारे पार्टिसिपेंट्स साथ जुड़े हुए हैं, उनके साथ आपने सारा माइग्रेटरी बर्ड्स के बारे में बेसिक से लेके बिल्कुल पीक तक आपने डिस्कस किया। आई होप बच्चों ने अच्छी तरह से अंडरस्टैंड कर लिया होगा। एज ए लेमैन मैं पर्सनली बताऊं तो मुझे मींस आज पता चला कि लाइट जो है वो बर्ड्स के लिए, माइग्रेटरी बर्ड्स के लिए भी इतनी बड़ी एक दिक्कत खड़ी कर सकती है। तो ये आज का थीम भी शायद यही है।
जी बिल्कुल
जी। तो हम लोगों को सभी को मिलके जो उनका फ्लाईवेज जितने भी हम लोग आइडेंटिफाई कर पा रहे हैं, जहाँ हमें पता है एटलीस्ट वो जो फ्लाईवेज वहां पे हम लोग डिम लाइट कर दें सो दैट उनको इजी रहे। मैम एक सवाल मेरा था, क्या जो इंसेक्ट्स जो बर्ड्स खाते हैं, जहाँ पे जो माइग्रेटरी बर्ड्स है, लाइट पोल्यूशन का या लाइट्स का उनके ऊपर भी कोई असर रहता है? वो भी एक वजह रहते हैं?
जी बिल्कुल, वो भी एक वजह रहती है, क्योंकि आप बहुत ज्यादा लाइट करके रखेंगे तो इंसेक्ट्स उस लाइट के नीचे आएंगे और उस जगह वो बर्ड्स आएंगी, और बर्ड्स वो इंसेक्ट्स को खाने के एवज में अपना ओरिएंटेशन भूल जाती है, बिकॉज वो इतना ज्यादा ग्लेयर होता है कि दे फॉरगेट देयर ओरिएंटेशन एंड देन दे गेट डिसओरिएंटेड एंड लैंड अप समवेयर एल्स और दे गेट किल्ड. So that is also one of the reasons, because of the availability of food under these bright lights. That is also one of the reasons that it is a problem for bird migration.
जी जी, मैं पार्टिसिपेंट्स को सभी को गुजारिश करूंगा, मैम हमारे पास हैं अभी बने हुए, किसी ने कोई भी क्वेश्चन पूछना है मैम से वो हमसे पूछ सकते हो, चैट बॉक्स में आप लिख सकते हो क्वेश्चन अपना।
I think किसी बच्चे ने पूछा है climate change is affecting migration of birds adversely. Yes, climate change is definitely affecting the bird migration. Climate change की वजह से the higher reaches which earlier used to be colder and the lower reaches which earlier used to be the temperature used to be regulated, now that has changed, and so has the birds migration time also changed. So the birds also, sometimes they are coming late, sometimes they are staying till late in one place and they are migrating very late. So that has also impacted, climate change has also impacted bird migration. Do the birds migrate at night time only? No, the birds migrate also during daytime. If there is lot of light pollution, then they definitely do not migrate during the night, they migrate during the day. Because they have to cover 7,500 kilometers or 5,000 kilometers, if they only migrate during night, they will not be able to cover. So they migrate both during night and during daytime. Small birds migrate during night and the larger birds migrate both times, day and night.
Ma'am, do they have journey breaks in between?
They do have journey, they do have stopovers. They do have stopovers. Do the migration path change with time or is fixed? The migration path is mostly fixed. They use the flyways. So the flyways are fixed and so the migration paths are also fixed. There might be little disorientation because of some hurdles in between, but not much.
हमारे पास मैम यहाँ पे आज पार्टिसिपेंट जुड़े हुए हैं जो चाहते हैं बर्ड वॉचिंग करना, लेकिन they don't know how to do bird watching.
बिल्कुल बिल्कुल. If you want us to come and do it for you, you can let us know. We will come and do bird watching for you. Train some of the people, teachers who can take regularly the students for bird watching. We can definitely do.
मैम कुछ टिप्स अगर आप यहाँ पे बच्चों को देना चाहिए,
सबसे इम्पोर्टेंट बर्ड वॉचिंग का सबसे इम्पोर्टेंट फंडामेंटल है, आप अपने घर से शुरुआत करिए. आपकी घर में कौन सी चिड़ियाएं आती हैं, उनको आप नोट करिए, गूगल में सर्च करिए, उनको देखिए, उनकी एक लिस्ट बनाइए. उसके बाद आप आसपास के फॉरेस्टेड एरिया में या जहाँ थोड़े पेड़ और झाड़ी है, उनपे जाके आप ढूंढने की कोशिश करिए कि कौन सी चिड़ियाएं हैं. कुछ तो आपको बहुत इजीली मिल जाएंगी, जैसे स्टारलिंग्स हैं, जैसे वो जो जिसको आप बच्चे बोलते हैं ना, 1 for sorrow, 2 for joy, 3 for letter, 4 for boy, 5 for silver, 6 for gold, 7 for secret, not to be told. So those are starlings. तो उन starlings को वो साथ एक साथ रहती हैं, तो आप स्टारलिंग्स को ढूंढ सकते हैं, आप स्पैरोज को देख सकते हैं, आप वुडपेकर्स को देख सकते हैं, आप इवन बर्ड्स ऑफ प्रे को देख सकते हैं. तो शुरुआत आप अपने घर से करिए और उसके बाद आप आसपास की जगहों में आप जाने की कोशिश करिए. आप चेकलिस्ट बनाइए, आप उसकी जो आपको देखना है वो इम्पोर्टेंट फीचर्स जो हैं, वो उसकी चोंच है, उसके लेग्स है और उसका कलर है. अगर ये 3 चीज आप देख लेते हैं तो आके आप गूगल में सर्च कर लीजिए, आपको मिल जाएगा. आपके गूगल में काफी सारी इंडियन सब कॉन्टिनेंट की बर्ड बुक्स है जो फ्री डाउनलोडेबल है. आई कैन ऑल्सो सेंड यू द बर्ड बुक्स, डाउनलोडेबल बर्ड बुक्स, तो आप उनको देख के आप आइडेंटिफाई कर सकते हैं.
There is another question, ma'am. We don't often see the birds migrating in groups.
No. Birds definitely migrate in groups also.
The question is why we don't see them in groups.
Okay, we don't see them in groups basically because we don't see the right place. If we see, as I mentioned, आपका जो दिल्ली का जो गाजीपुर का जो बहुत बड़ा डंप यार्ड है, आप अगर वहां जाएंगे तो आपको हजारों में बर्ड्स मिलेंगी जो माइग्रेट करती हैं. सिमिलरली आप गुजरात में जाएंगे तो आपको काफी बर्ड्स वहां पे भी आपको हजारों की संख्या में मिलेंगी जो एक साथ माइग्रेट करती हैं, जो शेप्स बनाते हुए चलती हैं. बर्ड्स शेप्स भी बनाती हैं एरोप्लेन की तरह. तो देयर आर बर्ड्स दैट माइग्रेट इन ग्रुप्स आल्सो.
थैंक यू. और किसी ने कोई क्वेश्चन, किसी बच्चे ने, किसी पार्टिसिपेंट ने पूछना हो तो we still have time. Yeah, there is a question, ma'am. Is there any government scheme to help improving place where migratory birds?
Okay, yes, definitely. The state governments all over the country, the forest department actually takes care of the places where migratory birds are coming. In India, we have the important bird areas, which are also known as the IBAs. The important bird areas are being taken care by the forest departments, and there are regular bird watching programs that happen in these important bird areas. Besides that, wetlands all over the country are being monitored for the birds, which are the birds which are coming to these wetlands, और वो किस time period पे आते हैं वो भी monitor होता है. तो forest department, NGOs, bird enthusiasts, there are birding groups, there are large number of birding groups जो photograph भी करती है और birding भी करती है, वो इन जगहों को monitor करती रहती है. That is how we know how many birds are coming to a particular. And then during January there is the census that happens, the waterfowl census that happens, which gives us an idea of how many migratory birds came into the country. So there are definitely government initiatives that are happening. Okay, as an individual, take care that the bird, that your dogs and the cats and your pets do not eat the eggs or harm the birds. Also take care that at night you dim your lights. You do not blow the lights, you dim your lights. Yes, network towers do harm birds, although the studies have not, there are studies, some studies which show that the communication network towers are impacting small birds. The small birds are getting impacted because of the communication towers, but it is still under research.
Another thing, ma'am, flying kites, which children, they fly kites during the
जी बिल्कुल. गुजरात में उत्तरायण जब होता है 14th of February, when the kite festival happens, because of the manja has Chinese manja which has glass on it. They actually cut and slice the birds. So you also have to be very careful when you are flying kites. Please use cotton thread to fly the kites and not the Chinese manja. The Chinese manja are very, very harmful, not only for the birds, but also for human beings, because it slits through the throat.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Any more questions, students, participants, please? Okay, I think this is enough. हमारे यहाँ पे मैम पंजाब में there is a Ramsar site, हरिके wetland.
Yes.
तो वहाँ पे भी बहुत सारे माइग्रेटरी, वहाँ पे माइग्रेटरी बर्ड्स आते हैं हर साल विंटर में.
बिल्कुल आते हैं, हरिके में बिल्कुल आते हैं.
जी. हमारे साइंस सिटी में itself we have more than 50 types of birds.
Wonderful.
Birds, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Very good.
Migratory also. And
very good.
Again, I must tell you that in some time I would request our Director General ma'am to request you to come here, and so that we may have bird watching together at definitely we would love to do that. My students will love to come there and talk with children and also do the bird watching with you all. Thank you, ma'am. Thanks a lot, ma'am.
Can all the kids switch on the videos so that we can click a picture of theirs?
Students, yes, please switch on your camera.
Switch on your videos, cameras, please.
We need a photograph. All the students and participants may please switch on the cameras. Students, please switch on your cameras.
Okay, no issue. We can click a picture like this only. Thank you, children. It was wonderful talking to you all, and hope to see you all soon once again.
Thank you, ma'am. From the Director General Dr. Neelima Charat and Director Dr. Rajesh Grover ji, उनकी तरफ से वो उन्होंने आज अटेंड करना था, लेकिन ड्यू टू सम
नहीं मेरी बात हुई थी उनसे.
जी. तो आपका बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद मैम. आप हम कोशिश करेंगे और टाइम बनेगा तो जरूर आपसे दोबारा में
जरूर. Thank you so much.